Turn you now to our top story about the wait that's continuing this afternoon for an announcement from the Gauteng ANC. That's on the fate of PEC member and Health MEC Bandile Masuku. That follows a provincial executive committee meeting that's been going on since the weekend. Masuku, his wife Loyiso, who's an MMC in the city of Johannesburg, and the husband of the president's spokesperson Khusela Diko have been implicated in a PPE tender scandal. Let's speak more about this then with host of the Fix on ENCA and political analyst Karima Brown joining me by Skype from Johannesburg. So, Karima, this announcement by the Gauteng ANC has been imminent since the weekend. Are we to read anything into this wait?
Yes, I think the big thing that you can read into it, Tembekile, is that the ANC in Gauteng is deeply divided. As you know, this meeting started yesterday. It went well into the night. At 12 o'clock last night, when I spoke with people, they were still at it. This morning, the meeting resumed at 9 o'clock. I've spoken to sources who've come out on breaks in the meeting. It looks as if they are now discussing several proposals, Tembekile, but the meeting cannot cohere around a single position because the organization cannot agree on whether to accept the findings of the Integrity Committee chaired by Trevor Fowler. There are some that believe that Bandile Masuku must take political responsibility and must step down, as well as Loyiso, his wife, and Khusela Diko. There are others, Tembekile, who believe that the report from the Integrity Committee is deeply flawed, and they want to shoot the report down in its entirety and send the Integrity Committee packing. So those are some of the discussions and positions that are being intensely debated at the moment. The delay is essentially because the people in that PEC meeting cannot come to an agreement, Tembekile.
And it makes you wonder then, Karima, given the history of the ANC and how often issues are dealt with or aligned based on personality, about whether the debate currently, how much of that is about the report, its contents and recommendations, and how much of it has to do with personal feeling about the people involved and possibly those on the Integrity Committee.
Exactly. Many people in the meeting believe that the Premier, David Makura, who is also a very powerful person, of course, in the provincial executive, is shielding Bandile Masuku. He is believed to have been the golden boy, the kind of favored heir, if you like. And he enjoys Makura's protection, according to sources inside the meeting. And this has caused quite a consternation because it doesn't seem as if the Premier is keen to throw Bandile Masuku under the bus. There's also been rumors that Mr. Masuku himself is challenging the Integrity Committee and is preparing to challenge the findings. The other big problem, Tembekile, is the composition of the Integrity Committee in terms of its powers, the remit of the Integrity Committee. Remember at Nazareth, the Integrity Committee, the original proposal was to give the Integrity Committee extreme powers in the sense that it would be able to recommend that people would step down and there would be the final word will be had by the Integrity Committee. But because that was changed to give the ANC's elected structures in the case of a provincial or national executive committee the final say, you now have the Integrity Committee that can come up with decisions, but its decisions needs to be mediated by the elected officials. And in this case, if you take the case of Khusela Diko, she herself is on the PEC. Her former husband is the secretary of the PEC, Jacob. They share children, for example. It's extremely hard when people have that close connections that they can necessarily be objective about coming to a determination. The other difficulty, of course, is that the SIU investigation is not complete. So, in a sense, what you need, if this is supposed to be a principled decision, is that if you are being investigated by law enforcement agencies and the outcome isn't determined yet, that you step aside. But the bar in the ANC is so low, Tembekile, that its internal structures, even the Integrity Committee, isn't able to enforce a political morality and ethics among the powerful politicians that serves on this PEC. And of course, Gauteng is not alone. We saw saw in the Eastern Cape, the MEC for Health there, in the same position as Bandile Masuku. And of course, she got cleared, and we saw Oscar Mabuyane, for example, saying that she is not going to step down. And I think this is a very big test of the push by Cyril Ramaphosa to clean up the ANC. If Gauteng is not able to come out decisively on these three individuals, it's going to be very hard for President Ramaphosa's push to succeed in the organization at a national level,
But Karima, you know, whatever the outcome from the Gauteng leadership, the ANC leadership this week, you wonder how Bandile Masuku, if he'd actually ever be able to come back to the Gauteng government, especially at such a high level as MEC, given just the stink from the scandal and the various other concerns we've seen, campaigns trending on social media as a result of the various allegations of corruption against ANC leaders, proven or not.
Absolutely. I think if you think about the fact that the ANC is facing a municipal election next year against the backdrop that they lost the council in the last municipal election, it will be a slap in the face of voters. And it's going to be a very tough sell for the ANC to convince voters that they are serious about cleaning up if someone like Bandile Masuku comes back. But you must remember, Tembegile, the health MECs have traditionally enjoyed quite a lot of political clout. If you look at the previous health MEC who had the Life Isidimeni tragedy, it took a lot. In fact, people had to trace the previous MEC overseas. I mean, she literally did a disappearing act, and people had to find her. And it was only when the reputation of the ANC was down in the gutter that action was taken against, the previous MEC. The same can be said with her predecessor, Brian Hlongwa. So there is a tendency here in Gauteng, particularly with health MECs, to cover up for them, for the ANC to drag its feet. But I think given the municipal election, it's going to be a very difficult thing for someone like David Makura to justify why Bandile Masuku should not step aside until his name is cleared by criminal investigations that are still ongoing.
Karima Brown, political analyst and host of The Fix here on ENCA.